Hey guys, Sierra Bailey here with Accel Commercial Real Estate. The video you're watching ties into our event in June, Accelerate. If you want to learn more about what you see today, scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description to get your tickets now before early bird pricing runs out. Enjoy the video.
My favorite success story, I've got friends, once you get into commercial real estate and real estate in general, I feel like is a big networking community, right? We're all here together, and I know a lot of faces out there. So I got a buddy, he bought a multifamily property down in Florida, and it was about 4 years ago or so. And I just talked to him, and he's stabilized now. And the property, he bought it for, I think, $4 million. It's worth about $8 million now. So, we're talking with commercial. I know it seems like a huge barrier of entry, but when you learn the skills of how to bring the investors together, and also when you're doing, I started off in duplexes, quads, single families. When you get a big enough portfolio of those and you build your equity, picking up a $2-3 million property is not as hard because you can use that equity to leverage into those deals, right? So that guy, he's doing a cash out refi, pulling out $2.5 million to go into another deal, and he's still got his cash flow. So big, huge wins. I'll talk about my biggest mistake because this is not all glamorous, right? Real estate is also a learning experience. So going into this, my dad's a builder. My brother's a developer. I spent a lot of time flipping houses, flipping them, holding them, doing development, all this stuff that was I thought sexy because it was happening all over Nashville. I was seeing all my buddies raking huge checks, closing. I jumped into that. I had a few success stories with development where we held them as rentals, did Airbnb, and then turned them into long-term rentals, and then eventually sold them because we had a lot of equity in them, 1031 exchange. But for the most part with development, I lost my shirt on almost every deal or broke even. So I learned quickly that was not my space. And it was just not something I was passionate about, right? And I think it's important that when you're doing this, you have to be passionate about what you're doing, what you're going after, because that, and you have to have a very clear why. If you don't have a very clear why with what you're doing, for me, I knew in the mortgage business when I started doing this, I was applying money to real estate, that my end game was to travel and have location independence. I knew that I wanted to travel with my family. We knew we wanted to homeschool our kids. We wanted to take them all over the world, all over the country. And that was the light at the end of the tunnel. So I would highly, highly recommend getting clear on that, writing it out, having it in front of you, knowing that all the time. So that's when I got clear on, okay, the best avenue for me is to use these rentals to create cash flow. Once they appreciate, 1031 exchange to bigger deals, create bigger cash flow, and then ease of life comes with that. Our triple net leases now, like that AT&T building, they're probably the most passive asset that you can own outside of a note. AT&T, we bought this building a year ago, and I don't think I've heard from them about it once, and it was something minor. So the rent comes, and I don't have to worry about it. So how many of you guys are just starting out in real estate investing? Oh, okay. So if you're just starting out, best advice I can give from the beginning I think more than anything, just getting started is the key. You know, not every deal is going to be a home run. Not every deal is going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, or maybe even tens of thousands. You know, but you have to get in to learn the lessons. And I'm the type of guy that has to learn shit the hard way. So I've done that stuff, and I've paid my dues. You know, now when I go into a deal, I know how to underwrite the deal much more conservatively and say, okay, here's plan A, here's plan B, here's plan C, and if it goes this way, I can pivot and do this. You know, so I think it's important to not be hard on yourself and not set this expectation that somebody 15 years down the road has for themselves, right? And then there's a really cool Tony Robbins quote that's, we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10 years, right? So when we get started, just get our feet in it, we start stacking up these properties, and eventually we can look at them and go, all right, I've got all this equity and it's not really working for me. Let's trade it, put it into this, and that will work for me. You know, because eventually you want that. You don't want equity just sitting there. You want it working for you. You want it doing something for you. So, if you're seasoned, if you're a seasoned investor, what's the best advice I can give you? The thing I love about commercial real estate that's really helped me over the years is using tax strategies. So I think that goes in line with the speaker next week that you're having. Commercial real estate allows for cost segregation studies. There's a CPA back there in the back. When you can do a cost segregation study and accelerate your depreciation on a commercial property, your first, was it 2 or 3 years of your tax returns? Yeah, okay. You can rapidly use accelerated depreciation to offset your income from the rental and also capital gains, selling a property, all sorts of stuff. So if you've got, I know W-2 income, you can't really write off as much W-2. Am I wrong on that?
It's suspended. Well,
okay, yeah. But you can carry it over, is that right? So, you know, as you start building this, you start building tax strategy. You start building, the whole purpose of this talk is talking about wealth building for generations. So you start protecting your assets. So down the road, you know, number one, you're not paying a ton of taxes on your income yet. And then at the same time, when you set your legal structure up correctly, your kids can inherit the properties and their tax basis starts over. As of right now, tax laws, that could change. But you know, if I were to pass today, my kids can inherit the real estate that we own, and their cost basis starts at 0, which means all the depreciation starts over. They can depreciate all the real estate that we've already depreciated. So that's a huge advantage. It also means that tax laws right now, I think, allow for them to inherit $12.5 million apiece to not pay taxes on that $12.5 million. So as you're building a portfolio, that becomes a huge plan for your kids to inherit real estate and not have to be burdened by a $2 or $3 million tax bill when they inherit that large portfolio of real estate. So, am I almost done? Okay. So, you know, and I'll wrap up with this. Guys, start where you are. Okay. Don't compare yourself. Comparison is the robber of joy. It's the thief of joy. If you're in a place where you're just starting out, or you're 5 years down the road, or wherever you're at, start there, right? Start with, take your first step, build on that, and then eventually, I'm biased. I love commercial real estate. You guys do as well. I think it's the best tax strategy. I think it's the best thing for creating passive income and the generational wealth I can pass. So, And on a personal note, we travel full time with our kids. We did 14 states this year, our fifth wheel. We have 2 dogs, as he mentioned. I've got 3 bikes actually, not just one. I mountain bike, road bike, all that stuff. So I'm living my version of my dream. There's a compromise there because that's not always my wife's dream. So we got to come back here and be in the house some of the time.
There's no questions.
Now we're wanting to, she wants to buy a house in Colorado, so I got a plan for that as well. But it's planned for, right? So, I think the most important thing is building a life that is your dream. That may not be your dream, that's my dream. But building your dream, so you're time free, you're financially free, you're able to do what you want to do, and life gets really effing cool when you can do that, right? I'm passionate about life. I wake up every day and go, what am I going to do today? Like I still do real estate, but I do stuff that I love to do. And I got a 3.5 and a 5-year-old, so I have no shortage of entertainment.
So before we go, do we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions? Do you have any questions you want to ask? We have an expert here.
One question. So when you moved fully from, like left the mortgage business and went fully to real estate, did you have any issue? I know, granted, probably that timeline was when the recession was happening, but do you have any issue with banks lending to you with you only being in real estate at that point? All your income is real estate.
Good question. So having been a lender, I knew what to expect, right? I knew I was going to get some pushback. The best advice I can give you is before you leave a 9 to 5, build a relationship with a local bank that has a lot of trust in you. Studio Bank has been really good to me here. I have 4 or 5 commercial loans with them. I've got 6 or 7 LLC accounts with them, bank accounts, personal accounts, everything. I called up Seth Butler over there and I said, hey, we're looking at buying a house in Winter Park, Colorado. Can you do a loan for me? And he goes, sure. So that's huge, and I'm not going through the hoops of Fannie and Freddie. He has all my stuff. He goes, I just need your updated personal financial statement. Ryan, you're always buying and selling properties. Give me an update on that. That's it. Send me a pre-approval. So that's a huge piece of advice I can give you. And also hit me up. I've got alternative lenders that can do asset-based lending, all sorts of stuff. So there's lots of options that are not just the Fannie Freddie box that most people think.
And one of the things we're going to do with Accel Group is to create a web page that has lending resources for specific property types that people can go to. So like that's probably one of the missing pieces is, think of it as like the Angie's list for bankers.
Yeah.
Because I think that in order for you to be able to start on that journey, you've got to be able to get that money somewhere. And those are relationships you need to start now. So Frank,
Yep. We have somebody with the World Wide Web ask a question.
Is it one of my hecklers or? Is
This is Brian Kinlaw.
Oh, yeah.
So this is interesting because this is the mindset of your client, which helps in investing. So he's curious why AT&T would just buy property.
Yeah, good question. So a lot of these companies, they don't want to own the real estate. They just don't want to own the real estate. They want to run a company or run a business, but they don't want to deal with real estate. The real estate involves all sorts of other things that they're not good at, to be honest with you. These businesses are not real estate investors. So McDonald's is. They like to do that. But a lot of companies, they just don't like messing with it. That was exactly the question I asked, but now I don't ask questions. If they don't want to own it and they want to sign a 7-year or 10-year lease and they want to pay all the taxes and insurance and utilities, I'm your guy.
Yay!
I am your guy.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a second part to this. He also wants to know how you found that property.
That was a broker here locally, Tyler Cobble. He brought it to me.
So we have time for one more question, and Frank, you had your hand.
I was going to ask you your opinion back when you were doing more things to try and get investment without investing in syndication, like being on the LP side.
Yes. You mean jumping in as a passive investor? Yeah, for you?
For like the equity multiplier.
So, this is what I tell most people. It depends on what you want out of the deal, right? If you want to be involved and hands-on, you want to be in the nitty-gritty, making decisions, all that stuff, LP role is not for you. It's passive, right? A GP role where you locate the deal, you're on the note, you're qualifying for the mortgage, you're coming up with raising the money for the deal or using your own money, then the GP role is for you. So it depends on what you want out of the deal. Is one better than the other? No, it just comes down to how involved you want to be in the deal and how comfortable you are. If you're an LP, you're going to learn about the deal. I'm just speaking for myself, and this is not a solicitation because I can't for the SEC, right? But for my LPs, we do a quarterly report with a P&L, so you learn about everything that's going on with the deal, and then I break down exactly what's happened with that quarter. So you're learning how to do it passively. So, and you can talk with GPs too to learn more, finite details and dig into it a little bit more.
So if he was speaking Spanish to you because you GP, LP, and this is something new to you, don't worry, we are going to be having a panel, a forum, where we will have someone come and explain what syndication is and the roles of LP and GP, and we're going to have panelists, probably Brian again, where people who do syndications to talk about that. So keep that in mind and watch for that upcoming opportunity, because it's going to be important. That's something that you want to hear about now, even if you're brand new, so that you have that as a goal for later. It's probably not something you're going to get involved in unless you're on the LP side right off the bat, but you'll know, and then you'll be able to be prepared for when that opportunity presents itself for you.
And I'll say this too, without being too windy. GP stands for general partner, LP stands for limited partner. The GP is typically bringing a lot of value to the deal, right? They're bringing the actual deal that they found off market or from a broker, and it's a really good deal. They're bringing investors and can raise most of the down payment, or they're all going on the note to qualify. Because a lot of this, when you get into apartments, you get into commercial deals, especially when you get into non-recourse financing for apartments, you need a sponsor or you need somebody in your deal that has the net worth to qualify for the loan amount that Fannie and Freddie require to qualify for the loan. So
we'll talk more about that
Yeah.
when we do our syndication.
that's a rabbit hole that
And we want to be able to have that be very
Sure,
specific, but I think we're going to call it that, and it'll be the.
a high level.
So can everybody give him a huge thank you?
Thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, be sure to follow our Generational Wealth Learning series. On select Thursdays, we offer cutting-edge industry information that would normally cost thousands of dollars. And the best part, our education is absolutely free. If you register through our events page, you can join us live, either in person or over Zoom. In the meantime, like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a beat.